Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make these triple row macrame bracelets. Now there's quite a few different ways of making triple row macrame bracelets, and this is probably one of the easiest ones. It's really simple. You use quite a few beads for these, and then the effect you get is really nice, almost like the pattern type thing you get. So if you want to learn how to make these in particular, then stay tuned. Now the things that you'll need for this bracelet is you obviously need whatever cord it is that you decide to work with. In my case I'm using some wax cord, 1mm. You can use whatever type, size, colour, it's completely up to you. You need a scissor to cut the cord, you need a glue to finish it off, and then you obviously need the beads that you've chosen to work with. The amount of beads obviously depends on the size that you want the bracelets to be, but also the size of the actual beads. In this case I'm using 36 and these are about 8mm. So if you want to learn how to make it, then stay tuned. To begin with, you want to get yourself 3 lengths of the cord that you decided to work with. There's no specific measurement for this. This is going to be the base of your bracelet, basically your holding cords. So they need to be long enough to wrap around your wrist and some extra. So get them together. They all need to be individual cords, not attached, so you need to cut them. So you put them all together in one end, and then if you don't have a macrame board to use and you use, say, tape or pins or something to fasten it down, I suggest just tying a knot to keep them all together. But if you do have a macrame board, just fasten them to that in the notches like this, all in the same one, because you want to keep them together for now. We don't separate them out till a bit later. So you do that, and then just to start off with, do the same thing at the bottom. And now you want to get a long length of the same cord. Again, this length depends on how big you want the bracelet to be, the size of your beads and all that, and how big the actual cord is as well. But whatever length you've got, find about the middle by folding it over, then hold on to that. You feed it underneath your 3 holding cords that you just attached. Get about the middle, hold it there, and then you just want to make a square knot to begin with to fasten it to that cord. And pull it tight. That's 1/2, and then you do the other half of the square knot. And there, you've got 1 full square knot. To begin with, you want to get yourself 3 lengths of the cord that you decided to work with. There's no specific measurement for this. This is going to be the base of your bracelet, basically your holding cords. So they need to be long enough to wrap around your wrist and some extra. So get them together. They all need to be individual cords, not attached, so you need to cut them. So you put them all together in one end, and then if you don't have a macrame board to use and you use, say, tape or pins or something to fasten it down, I suggest just tying a knot to keep them all together. But if you do have a macrame board, just fasten them to that in the notches like this, all in the same one, because you want to keep them together for now. We don't separate them out till a bit later. So you do that, and then just to start off with, do the same thing at the bottom. And now you want to get a long length of the same cord. Again, this length depends on how big you want the bracelet to be, the size of your beads and all that, and how big the actual cord is as well. But whatever length you've got, find about the middle by folding it over, then hold on to that. You feed it underneath your 3 holding cords that you just attached. Get about the middle, hold it there, and then you just want to make a square knot to begin with to fasten it to that cord. And pull it tight. That's 1/2, and then you do the other half of the square knot. And there, you've got 1 full square knot. Now I like to do a few of these in the beginning, just to start off the bracelet. However many you want to do is completely up to you. I'll do 1 more. And the last half. There we go. I've got 3 square knots. So we're ready now for the next step. Now you want to just undo the bottom of your holding cords, because you now want to just get all your beads on them, and then you can continue working. Sometimes, depending what cord you use, you'll find the end is a bit frayed. Now that can make it a little bit difficult to put beads on. A little tip is just to slightly singe it and then roll it to make a bit of a point, and it hardens it a bit. That's going to make it a lot easier to thread on your beads. So you want to start doing that. And then I'll show you how to put them when you've gotten to that point. So I've now attached all my beads, and it doesn't matter how many you use, the only thing you have to make sure of is the middle row, and that has 1 more bead than the 2 outer rows. And then after that you reattach your cords, but this time with a bit of space in between. So as you can see at the bottom on the macrame board, I put 1 notch in between. So now all your beads are on. Now you want to actually start the main part of the bracelet. So I like to push the beads all the way down so they're not in the way, and then I just want to get my cords in the right position. To do this, they're coming out from the sides like they would normally do from square knots. I then take it through underneath the first cord and up between that and the next, that and the middle cord. I prefer to start from here. I think it gives a nicer result. You start with the middle row, you push up your first bead as far up as it'll go. Doesn't matter about if you have beads like these what way they turn, because you can flip them around when you're done. And what you want to do is basically do 1/2 of a square knot, but try and ignore the 2 outer holding cords for now, just focus on the middle one. So you get your cord, put it over, and then get the other one, go in between the outer one and the middle one, and underneath the middle one, and you pull it up between the middle one and the outer one on the other side and pull it through the loop you created. And then you tighten that. Now you only make the first half of the square knot with this. So that's the first bead. You now move on to the next one. So you take one from each side and bring it up. Now you'll find that each of these working cords are coming out on each their side, and that's the side you're going to stick to. So you grab your first cord, you start on one side, push the bead up as far as it can go, you grab the end of it, now you're just focusing on the outer cord, on the outer holding cord. You feed this underneath and then pull it up between the outer holding cord and the middle one. And then don't just pull just yet, you want to make sure it goes underneath itself as well. And then you're pulling that tight and pull it towards the middle, basically a bit towards the other side. So you make sure your cord stays towards the middle of it, where it's coming out. You do the same on the other side, but you're obviously just opposite. So get the end, feed it underneath, up in between, and then under itself. And then pull that as tight as you can. So now your two working cords are coming out in towards the middle. Moving on to the next one, you grab a bead from the middle holding cord again, push that up as far as it will go, bring these cords down, don't pull them tight just yet, just bring them down, make sure the previous knots are nice and tight. Again, ignore the outer ones, just focus on the middle cord. Going back to make half of the square knot, so put it over, feed it through underneath and pull it out through the loop, only on the middle cord, and then you tighten that. And you continue like this. You now focus on the outer rows again. Start from whichever side you find comfortable. Feed this underneath and pull it up through, and then also feed it under itself. And then pull that tight towards the middle. Make sure your cords always lay on the underside of the beads. So feed it underneath and in between and under itself. And as you're pulling tight, make sure the cords are in the right position. And then back to the middle one. Don't pull tight just yet. Focus on the middle cord. Make half of a square knot. And then pull tight. I'll just show you one more time. Hopefully close up you can get a better look at the pattern that's forming as well now. So make sure knot's tight. Pull up. Another one on each side. Take one side at a time. Feed the end underneath and pull it up through, and then under itself. And pull that tight. Same thing on the other side. Underneath, up through, and under itself. And then back to the middle. make half of a square knot. Just focusing on the middle cord, middle holding cord, and then tighten them. And that's how you make this type of triple row macrame bracelet. I'll finish it off and you do the same, and then I'll show you where to go from here. So you've now reached the bottom and you've left yet to do your very last bead, which is the middle one. And it will be that because remember you put an extra one in the middle row. Instead of just continuing to just do the middle one now you want to go back to incorporating all of the holding cords, because you want to finish it off the same way you started it off. So all you do is start making square knots and just do it over all 3 cords. So all 3 cords now become basically one holding cord. Tighten that. And then just before you tighten the second half, I like to just double tighten the first one. There you go. And you just continue. And you want to make the same amount of square knots on the bottom as you did on the top. In my case that was 3. So I'm on my second one. I've yet to do the last one. Underneath all 3 cords. And the last half of that. And there you go. So now what you want to do is you want to get your glue out. I like using this Hypo cement also because it has a really fine tip, so it's a lot easier to control and manage. Now what you want to do is, when you're creating your square knots, you get these little wells in between, and it's the very last well that you've done. You want to fill that up with glue, because that's what's going to keep your cords from unraveling when you cut them off. And I just put a little bit around the cords that are coming out as well. You want to do this on both sides. So flip it over and do it on here as well. Then you want to leave that to dry. And then once it's dried, you can then cut off these cords and get as close to your knot as you can. So now that your glue's dried, you can cut this off. And now you can detach it from your board or whatever else you're using. Your bracelet is almost done. You now have this. Now what I like to do as well is get rid of some of these cords, because you're going to be using these ends to form the locking part. You can leave it at 3 if you want to, that's fine, but I prefer to not have that many. So what I just do is I glue around the end as well, just so that when I cut these 2 outer cords off on each end, nothing's going to happen. So leave that to dry. And then once it's dried, you can kind of see that you're going to have a middle cord and then 2 outer cords. It's the 2 outer cords that I then cut off. So leave it to dry, cut them off, and then we're ready to make the locking part. So you now have an almost finished bracelet. All that's left to do is just finish off the adjustable lock. So both sides are really pretty, so it doesn't really matter that much what side you decide to use. That's completely up to you. What you want to do is fold it so you get pretty much a bracelet shape, and have these 2 end cords going against each other, side by side. You then want to get a piece of spare cord, or the same cord that you've been using all the time. Often you can just use some other ones left over from what you cut off, but otherwise just get a spare piece. Find roughly the middle of that, put the middle behind your 2 holding cords, and you just want to make another few square knots. First one is always the trickiest one because that's where everything is loose. You can use clips if you want to hold it tight while you're working with it. That's one done. I like to do about 6 on the lock. I find that's pretty much the perfect right amount. Because you don't want too few, it'll be too flimsy, but there's no need to have too many either, so. Third one. And just do as many as you like of them, and then I'll just show you how to finish it off. So you've now made however many knots you want for your adjustable part. So you want to get rid of these 2 threads now. You just do exactly the same as you did to finish off the bracelet. You get your glue, put it around the ends, and kind of in the well. All you want to do is be careful that you don't go down and touch these cords, because that will make them stick together, and you want this part to move, so that's not going to work. But just be careful where you put it on both sides. And then you let it dry and cut them ends off, same as you did before, and then I'll just show you how to finish it off. So now, just to finish it off and make it completely secure, you want to close these up just so you can use proper measurements. Make a simple regular knot. Pull it really tight. Whatever distance, however long you want it. You can measure it if you want to, but I don't tend to. I just go by eye. Do the same on the other side. And then you want to get 2 more beads out. I just need to cinch these ends off so I can get the beads on. Now you can choose to either use the same beads that you used in the bracelet or use some other ones that match. It's completely up to you. Put a bead on, tie another knot on the other side of that, a completely regular knot, Nothing fancy. Get it as close to the bead as you can. And I always tie 2 knots on this side, just to make sure it will definitely not be pulled through the bead, because I have had that happen before. So to avoid that. Same thing on the other side. Pull it tight. Another one. And I like to just put some glue around the knots, just to make sure they're not going to go anywhere. Because you got to remember that you're going to be taking it on and off and pulling at these, so obviously that is going to wear, and you want to do what you can to make it last as long as possible, really. Like that. Then let it dry before you cut it, but I'm just going to cut it for now. Get as close to the knot as you can, so you don't really see any leftover thread. And then there you have your finished triple row macrame bracelet with a really nice pattern in it. So please feel free to give that a go yourself, and then otherwise I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.